So students, in previous session we were discussing about some AI strategies. What are the different levels of AIs and some ways of implementing tic-tac-toe game using AI, where a computer can play tic-tac-toe game on its own. So two programs we already discussed. Let us go for third approach, where it is a more better AI approach as compared to previous approaches, because it does not only take rules into consideration. Along with this, it looks for future moves that opponent might play, and depending on future moves that opponent might play, computer takes the decision. Computer takes the decision. So basically, see what is the board position. It says a structure containing a 9-element vector representing the board. So again, it can be, we can consider as a 3 by 3 matrix. So it's a 9-element matrix, or if we'll represent and having 9 positions, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 and 9, and we can represent it as a vector in this manner. Instead of 2D array, we can represent it as a 1D array. With positions 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. See, when we are displaying, it does matter. So whether you are displaying it as a matrix or displaying it as a vector. But while storing, it doesn't matter, because anyway you will be storing 9 elements only. So so board position will be what? A structure containing 9-element vector representing the board, and the list of board position that could result from the next move. That is most important. A list of board positions that could result from the next move, and the number representing an estimate of how likely the board position is to lead to an ultimate win. So pay attention, understand this thing. Next position and how ultimately it can lead. See, for example, let's say the current board position is something like this. So it's X, it's O, and if let's say first X is done, second O is done. Now what are the most probable moves that first player can do? Though the first possibility is he might write X over here. The another possibility is, see, now I'm saying possibilities. The possibilities are huge. So he might write X over here. Then the possibility is, it is yes. So this is current, and this is possibility 1, possibility 2 for next move. This is possibility 3 for next move. Similarly, it can go with here. This is, let's say, possibility 4 for next move, and so on. So there are n number of possibilities. So, but which is the most favorable possibility? So based on that, it can give some points like point 1, 1 point, 1 point. Here it can call it 1 point. You can call it a 2 point or something like this. So basically, what they are doing, they are looking for the next move the player can do, and based on the, what we can say, how good that move can be, a points can be assigned, and then you can select the move based on highest point. Then you can select the move based on highest point, or we can say you can select the best move. For example, if this is a current state like this is not a good idea to go. This is also not a good idea to go. This is also not that great idea to go. But this, yes, it's a better idea to go. Anyway, this is a better idea to go. For example, we can go like this and so on. So this is something called as the list of board positions that could result from the next move. So for next move, there can be n number of possibilities, as we discussed that X and O. The next position or next move can be X here, or next move can be X here, or so on. So that's what they are saying, that list of possibilities, possible moves that could result, and then you can represent. Then for every position or every move, you can give some number that how good that move is, and for that there can be different formulas or different equations that we are not dealing right now. In one of the upcoming sessions, there is something called as a minimax algorithm for AI. There we can learn all these things. Right now, just understand that okay, we can give some number to the move based on how good that move is. So see, the algorithm, how it works. To decide on the next move, look ahead at the board position that result from each possible move. Means so what are the possibilities, and decide the best move which can lead to win or something like that. And based on that, we are supposed to do that move. So this you can repeat this process again and again. Let's say you want to look one move in future, you want to look two move in future, you want to look three move in future. So depending on how many moves you want to look in the future, you can go accordingly. So what it says, if you see a win, let's call it it's a win. If you say that okay, if a particular move is done, it's a win, let's call it a move win, and that position will be given as the highest value. Why? Because it is resulting into a win. If it is not resulting into a win, then any query, students? No. Okay. Any doubt till this point? Okay, good. No doubts. So otherwise, what you are saying that consider all the moves that opponent can make and see which of them is the worst move. Means let's say instead of you, if opponent wants to do a move, which move he can do, which is a worst for you. Worst for you means good for him, na? Worst for you means he is going to win or he is going into winning position. Either he is winning or he is going into winning position. Then the move is worst for you and best for him. So check if instead of you, opponent wants to play, which is a good, which can be the good move, and accordingly you can go ahead, and you are assigning the nodes a different weights. For example, let's say here, if a move is done over here, weight can be what's wrong? This weapon is not working. Oh. So we can give weight 2 to this location. We can give weight 2 to this location. If one will mark X over here, it can be 1. If it is marking over here, it can be 1. If it is marking over here, it can be given as something 1 or 2. And then depending on which node or where user will mark and it is getting highest point, the node can be selected. So how you can assign 1 or 2 or 3 depending on how good that move is, and based on how good that move is, you can select. Let's say if there are two or three two nodes which are having 2 points, if there are 3 nodes which are having 1 point, which node you will select? The node which are having 2 point, highest point is 2. Then but there are 2 nodes, so you can select randomly any node. If there are two nodes, you can randomly select any node. There is no such criteria that way. So this is a third approach. So where a user is looking into future, that what can be the state after one move, what can be the state after two move, what can be the state after three move, something like that. And based on that, it is taking a decision which move should be considered. So this is a better AI. This is a better AI. So if you are playing a chess, so you might have, some of you might have played chess against computer. So you might have seen there are modes like a simple or easy, moderate, hard, something like that. So simple means, let's say it is looking into only one move in future or two moves in future. Moderate, it is looking for, let's say, 3 to 4 moves in future. And hard, it is looking for 5 to 6 moves in future. So based on how many moves you are looking into future, the game will become more difficult for you. If computer is looking into five next steps or 6 next steps, that is difficult for you. If it is looking only let's say for one or only two moves, then it is easy for you to play with the computer and so on. So this is what the third game. So where they are talking about, do not only consider the current vector, consider the possibilities in the future, and based on the facilities of next move, we are supposed to work on it. A class, any doubt in this thing? So this is a better AI. Any doubt, anyone? No? Okay, good. Then we'll move to next slide. See, what about this program 3? What are the comments? See, first of all, it requires much more time to consider all possibilities. Yes, if you are looking into 2 future moves or 3 future moves and analyze every move and check what it is, how it will hamper and all, and you want to give points to every move, then definitely you require more time. So this is the first observation, but it could be extended to handle more complicated games. That is most important thing. You can use it to handle more complicated. If I want, even I want to go for 3D tic-tac-toe, I can easily go for it without any problem. So this is better. So it requires more time, but it does not require more memory. It requires only more time depending on how many future moves you are going into. But at the same time, most important thing is it handles complicated games. You don't have to feed intelligence artificially to it to the great extent. Simple basic rules, some strategies, that's sufficient, and it will work fine. So this is actual proper AI, and based on this concept, they created initial chess games and all. And those chess games, computer players used to play against the computer and just try to win, something like that. So few players they beat the chess. After some time, the programs become so, what we can say, it becomes so great and evolved that it was very difficult for player to beat chess. But early time, yes, they were able to, because it was not that evolved. Now, the most important thing is level of model. What do you mean by level of model? A level of model indicates how good model you want and so on. See, it signifies the importance what we are trying to achieve through AI. That is the most important thing. What we are actually trying to achieve through AI. For example, is our goal trying to produce a program that do the intelligent things that people do? Means people are doing some things and you want computer to do that thing. That's it. Not in easy way or great way or something like that. You are simply trying to do what people want to do. And the next thing is you want a program to do a task in the easiest way. So these are two things. You want a program to do a task in easiest way, or you want to do using the intelligence that people are trying to implement. So these are the ways. So efforts to perform the task same as human can be divided into two classes. So if you want that it should work as human is working, so we can divide into two see. So the solve the program that do not fit our definition of AI task. So see, the second class of program that attempts to model human performance are those that do things that tall more, sorry, that tell more clearly, sorry, not tall, it's fall. It should be F, sorry for that, that fall more clearly within our definition of AI task. They do things that are not trivial for computer. There are several reasons one might want to model human performance at this sense of task. See, means see, to test psychological theories of human performance. So you want to check whether how good human is performing in a particular task. So what you can do? You can compare it with how computer is performing to enable computers to understand the human reasoning. It's important thing. You want, let's say that computer to understand the human reasoning. Then we can write this thing. So it's like it should not do the task in easiest way. It should do the task how human is thinking. So for that, there might be some if-else rules, there might be some fuzzy rules. Use those things and implement the thing. Then to enable the people to understand the computer reasoning, that is also important thing. You should understand how why computer is taking some decision. See, when you are talking about machine learning or you are talking about deep learning, many times people don't know why computer has taken such a decision, why computer has taken such a decision. But if you want to understand why computer has taken such a decision, then also we can do this thing. For example, you let's say you went to bank, you filled their forms, and then after that the bank computer is saying that credit card should not be issued. Then you are like, why I should not be issued a credit card? Then they'll simply tell you that okay, computer is saying so. We have software, we feed your information. Software says we cannot issue a credit card, but they don't know why. So if you want to enable the people to understand the computer reasoning, we can do it. If we want to enable computers to understand the human reasoning, we can go for the second case, and to exploit what knowledge we can glean from the people. So these are important things. See, so if we want to perform the task same as human, so many times human don't do a task using some intelligence. They simply do it mechanically. It's like a box filling task. Do you need intelligence for box filling task? No. There is a box, put the thing in a box, wait for next box will come, put the thing in that box, that box will move on the conveyor belt, next box will come, put the thing in a box, and keep on doing it. So is it an intelligent task? No, it is a simple task. For this we don't require AI, so that is, forget about it. But the second category is problem what, where you need human intelligence, you need human performance. For example, painting. Then second example can be, there are machines which cook the foods. You need some intelligence and so on. So then these are the reasons why you want to model a human performance at this task.
Can we say the self-driving car, sir?
Yes, self-driving car is in a second category where you will take human intelligence into consideration. But again, even though it doesn't matter how good driver you are, some or other time you might end into trouble. So car is also going to end into trouble if you are going to think it like a human way. Likewise, one student asked me, let's say suppose there is a kid crossing a street and there is a truck. Either I can save the kid or I can hit a truck. So it's a human intelligence. But if it is a machine intelligence, it might result into something else also. That is not human intelligence. That if it comes into result into something else, then that might be some other kind of intelligence.
So this is the category from the second one that you say, the program to do the task easiest way, isn't it?
Task easiest way.
I mean the self-driving cars. It's do the task in easiest way to just
No, no,
let
no, no,
the.
no. Task easiest way means what? You will write some if else rules, or you will have your own rules. And normally you human don't think in that way, but you can write a algorithm, something like that.
Oh, okay,
For
sir.
example, backtracking based algorithms. Do human ever think in a backtracking way,
No.
or do human think in a recursive way? No. But there are algorithms. Am I right? So those are easiest way to solve the problems. But again, those algorithms can fall into AI. I hope I answered your query.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Then criteria for success. Criteria for success is most important thing to define, because we should know criteria for success means what? We have achieved the success in some or other way. So that is important thing. Let's say how to know if a machine has become intelligent or not. That is a criteria for success. When you can say that machine is sufficiently intelligent. Let's say it can be as tough as defining intelligence, because how can you define that machine intelligence? Because I guess the last session there was a debate. One was saying that a particular machine is intelligent and it can understand human emotions, and I can't counter argue it that it is not perfect every time. And some other students supported me, sir, it is not as intelligent as human. So that is a tough decision to tell when you can say that it is intelligent. For example, Google is saying our car is smart enough. There was accident because that was not a fault of a car. That was a fault of a person. He intentionally hit me, or he intentionally hit that car. So now it's a difficult thing whose fault it is. So similarly, if you want to decide whether the machine is intelligent enough, then again it's a tough definition. For example, you want to say the computer can play a chess against a human and he can beat the human, but which humans he can beat? Can he beat a grandmasters, or can that beat world champion, or it can build a normal or in hobbyist chess players? Based on that, again it's a intelligence. Am I right? Let's say you come up with some program, the let's say 10 MB software, and you are saying it can play chess. Yes, it can play chess, but is it necessary that it will beat a grandmaster or world champion? No. So world champion might raise a question: is it intelligent? But if you are playing against it, you are saying it's a good program. So that way. So there is a Alan Turing scientist. He proposed a test which later became famous by the name of Turing test. So what it said is it requires two person and a machine. So there are two persons and there is a machine in a separate room. So and one person interrogates the machine, and a person without knowing who or what is inside the room. Means what? Now person don't know whether inside is a person or a machine, and he is interacting with that thing. It can be either machine or it can be person. Let's say there are two persons. So one person is one in one room, machine is in another room, and now this person, he doesn't know with whom you are asking him to interact. You are asking him to interact with person, or you are asking him to interact with machine. Let's say you are asking him to interact with machine, and he says it is not a machine, it is a person with whom I was interacting. Then text is successful, and the machine is having a human intelligence that way. So they call it as a Turing test. And since the name of person it was Alan Turing, it is called as a Alan Turing test. So I want to share a small video from YouTube. Please tell me whether you are able to hear the voice or not. Uh, Guys, you were you able to listen the audio? Yes,
No,
class?
sir. It's not audible.
No, not now. Now is it audible?
No, at all.
Not at all. Okay, just wait. I'll share it through tab. Uh, Now are you able to hear it?
No, sir.
Still not audible?
No, it's not, sir.
Okay, so why it is happening so? Please give me few seconds, not more than that.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Doesn't matter. What I'm going to do is I'm sharing this link with you. You can
We can access it, I think, from the BBT.
sorry.
We can access the link from the BBT. It's available there.
Yes, you can do that. But now there is a question why I'm not able to share my screen. Okay, you must grant permission. There is some problem from my end. I'm just leaving the session and joining back one more time.
Okay, sir.
Now screen is visible. Yes. So the link is
Yes, sir.
already available in the PPT, and I have shared PPT with you. Am I right? So it says it's a test. So if you want to know, if you can recognize that the next thing is a machine or next thing is a computer, then you can say that yes, the machine is sufficiently intelligent enough or not. If you believe that the thing with whom you are interacting is a human, then the test is successful. The machine is mimicking the human. But if you cannot believe that, then there is no, what you can say, the machine is not sufficiently trained enough to have a human intelligence. So we may devise more such standards in future which can help us to identify that if machine has been truly made intelligent or not. For example, chatbots and all. So chatbots are intelligent to some extent. For example, you are dealing with bank and you ask chatbots question related to bank transactions, they will answer you properly. But you just try to deviate from something and then they will start giving you random answers. Then it will be tricky, or they will say, I don't understand what you are saying, and so on. Means what? The bots are not that intelligent enough. But depend, some bots they can tell you this question is not related to banking, or sorry, this question is outside our area, and I cannot answer this question. In that case, you can say that bot is intelligent enough. Because if you go to bank and you are asking that a person, do you saw that movie, do you like that movie, what you will say, sir, please talk about business. Are you getting it?
Yes, sir. Yes. So it's a related thing because maybe for me it's an intelligent thing that machine is playing chess with me and beat me every time. But we relative to maybe a champion, it's not an intelligent machine because he can beat it easily, isn't it?
Yes, yes. So that's again the intelligence, what you are expecting and what you are actually getting, and so on. So this was unit one. So we are done with unit one, and now we are moving to unit number two. Unit one, number one, it was only for 2 hours in our syllabus, so it's not a big problem. So unit number two, it deals with heuristic search. Heuristic search means what? How intelligently you can do the search for what move to be done, what thing should be done. Because let's say there are 100 possibilities. let's say computer can move, there are 100 different moves that computer can do, or there are 100 different things that computer can do, but actually which should be done, how it should be selected, and so on. So that thing should be done using some heuristic way, using some intelligent way. So that is a heuristic search. That is our unit number 2, heuristic search. So let's say you want to build a system to solve a problem that require. So if you want to solve a problem, then we'll build a system, and that system should solve our problem intelligently. Then what are the steps? The first, we should define the problem precisely, including what the details, specifications, and what constitutes an acceptable solution. That is most important thing. What is an acceptable solution? This thing, acceptable solution. Because what might be acceptable to you might not be acceptable to someone else. What might be acceptable to you might not be acceptable to someone else. For example, let's say you guys are okay with the Dell laptop also, but some person is like, no, I want only Mac. Similarly, some people are okay with, let's say, Sony earphones, but some people are, no, I don't want Sony earphones, I want best quality earphones. Means what they are actually expecting, the level of output, the level of proficiency that they are expecting, that is important thing. So, and who will decide the acceptance? Client, or the person who is going to use the system, not you. Are you getting it? So acceptable solution, the simple example is, acceptable solutions for simple example is, so there is a movie called Avatar. You must have seen this movie, Hollywood movie, am I right? It is about people are
Yes,
going
yes,
to another
it's
planet for habitation and all. So the movie is directed by the director who directed or who produced which movie? Jurassic Park, am I right? So when he produced that movie Jurassic Park, at that time he had the script and everything for Avatar, but he said that it was ready from that moment only, but the animation, the special effects softwares and all which were available at that time were not sufficient to give a good justice to Avatar. So the animation and all of Jurassic Park is good. It was a super duper hit of that time. Everyone was like, what a animation, what a special effect and everything. But according to him, the animation of special effects softwares available at that time are not able to justify the Avatar movie. And so he waited for a time when the animation softwares and all the special effect softwares became advanced enough, developed enough, it can justify Avatar. And then he produced that movie. Do you know this thing? So if you are aware of this thing, it's a good. If you are not aware of this thing, still it's not a problem. But this is what I'm talking about. Acceptable solution. Means system is working, it is not acceptable. How good your system is, how good it is working, that is important thing. Then let's say your system is giving a solution after 5 minutes. Is it acceptable? No, I want solution within 5 seconds. So 5 seconds and 5 minutes. It's a very big difference. So solution is not acceptable in that way. Then once you have defined the problem and you define that what is acceptable solution. Now you can analyze the problem for some features that may have dominant effects on the chosen method of a solution. Means identify, analyze the problem, how you can solve the problem, what criterias are there which can be used to select the next move, what is there any rule or is there any procedure and so on. So you analyze the problem thoroughly. And once you have analyzed, isolate and represent the background knowledge needed in the solution of the problem. Take the background knowledge and represent it in the form of rules, in the form of trees, or in the form of knowledge relations, whatsoever you want. You isolate and represent that knowledge. And once it is done, choose the best problem solving method technique. Means there can be multiple techniques. You can come up with 3 or 4 different techniques. Likewise, today only we will be seeing that to solve a water jet problem, there are 2 methods. One is a best first search method, another is a, sorry, one is a breadth first search method, another is a depth first search method. So which method should be used, breadth first search or depth first search? So that we are supposed to decide. So that way means once you have defined the problem and acceptable solutions, you can identify, you can analyze that problem and come up with the knowledge or the features how you can solve the problems. So there can be multiple techniques to solve the problems, and you will come up with those techniques by representing the knowledge that you have earned by analyzing it, and then you can choose which technique should be used, whether you should go for a breadth first search or depth first search or anything else. So this technique, this thing is called as a state search, state space and search. So we'll shortly going into depth of what is state space and search. Any doubt, class, till this point?
Sorry, sir. Can you repeat the 2 methods for search that you just said?
One is a breadth first search, another is a depth first search. We will be seeing those methods in detail this in some time. So these are not only 2 methods. I'm just taking you, I was just talking about example of a water jet problem.
Okay, sir.
So in water jet problem, there are 2 solutions. So let's say you define the problem, you define acceptable solution, then you analyze it and you come up with the knowledge that either you can solve it using breadth first search or depth first search. And in next step, you will select which thing should be used. So I was just giving the example, nothing else. So in state space search, it doesn't matter which problem it is, you are supposed to specify the state space and then how you can use that space. Or what is a state? State represents the what? The state of a solution at a given step of the problem solving. So the state represent means what? For example, if you are talking about tic-tac-toe problem, then what can be initial state? Initial state is everything is 0, nothing is played. Then player 1 marked it, so it is marked as, let's say, 2, or let's say it is marked as 1. So this is current state. Then other player went for center state, this is 2, so this is another state. Then next player went for 1 here, so this is a state. So this is called as state. State means what? What is the current state of a solution? So initially everything was 0 and then things are moving slowly forward. And as different steps are taken, the state of solution will also change. Initially it was all 0, then it become 1, then it become 1, 2, then it become 1, 2, 1, and so on. The solution of a problem is a collection of problem states. The solution of a problem is what? Collection of a problem states. Means what? Solution of problem means what? See here. If player 1 has 1, 1, 1, this is one solution. And it is also one state. Or it is 1, 1, 1, it is also acceptable. Or 1, 1, 1, all ones in first row, and so on. So there will be n number of such solutions. So solution is what? A collection of states. Solution is nothing but what? A collection of states, because there might be multiple solutions which are acceptable depending on the situation. In some problems there is only one solution which is acceptable, but if we are talking about tic-tac-toe, there are multiple solutions which are acceptable. If you are talking about chess, how many solutions are there? There can be again multiple solutions which are acceptable, and so on. So the solution can be a single state or it can be a multiple states. Any doubt, class, till this point about the state and solution?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. See, then the problem solving procedure applies an operator or operation. Operation means what? In chess, operation means you are moving the pawn or you are moving one of the piece. In tic-tac-toe, what is your operation? you either player 1 is marking 1 or player 2 is marking 2 or something like that. So that is the operation. So it is either called as operation or the another word is operator. So why it is called, why they call it operator? Because they use some mathematical operations. So they call it operator also. So either you can call it operator or you can call it a operations. In some book it is written as operator, in some book it is written as operation also. The reference textbooks that we are going through, they mentioned as operator. I'm just writing slash operation over here so that when if you will read something on internet, there will be no question. Okay. So the moment you will do operation, that is the next, then the state is changed, that you are moving to next state. So that is initially it was empty. Someone marked it is a one state. Then you are moving to another state. Then another player marked one, move to one state. Then computer marked two over here. You move to another state, and so on. So the state is changing. And the process of applying an operator means what? The process of doing a moves. You are doing one move, then computer is doing another move, then player is doing one move, then computer is doing another move. This is a continuous thing. So this process is called as state space approach. This process is called such a method of solving the problem is generally referred as what? State space approach. Why? Because you start with some initial state like empty board, then based on some rule you change the state, then computer considers the current state and computer checks the current states and change the state of a solution, then player will change the state, then again computer checks the current state and change the state of a game and so on. So that's why it's called as what? State space approach. They uses current state to predict the future state and accordingly tasks are done. So so define a state space that combine all possible configurations. So what it says, so see, you need to define some initial state. That is most important thing. From where a game will start or from where a problem will start. For example, for tic-tac-toe, initial state is everything blank. If you are playing chess, what will be initial state? It will be a 8x8 board. Am I right? With in first two rows here some pieces, in first two rows here, last two rows here some pieces, and rest all rows and columns will be empty. So that will be the initial state for what? Chess, and so on. Yes, any doubt, anyone? No. So we have to define some states which can be considered as what? Possible initial states. So for tic-tac-toe and chess, possible initial states are only one, but for some situations it might be different also. Then we have to specify one or more acceptable solutions. So in tic-tac-toe there can be many acceptable solutions because there are many ways to win in tic-tac-toe. Similarly, there are many ways to win in chess. That's also done. Then you specify the rules as a actions that allowed. Means what? In tic-tac-toe you can do only one movement at a time. In chess, what are legal moves? So if you want to move a pawn 3 steps ahead, can you move? No. If you want your rook to move in a diagonal direction, can it be done? No. So you are defining some rules which says that which actions are possible and which actions are not possible. So this involves thinking about what? Generality of the rule, assumptions made in the informal presentation and so on. So you define initial state, you define acceptable, so final states, and then you define the rules by using which you can move from initial state to next state. So that is the rules means what? How operations you can do. For example, how you can move the pieces in chess, how you can do the things in, for example, in tic-tac-toe, I can mark only one. If then I have to wait for other player to complete, then I can mark at only one place, and so on. So that is a set of rules. So for tic-tac-toe, set of rules are less, but for chess, set of rules are very high. If you're talking about other problems, set of rules might be different. So we have to define initial state, we have to define acceptable states, and then we have to define the rules which can change the state. So that is what it's required in state space and search. Any doubt, class, till this point? No?
Can you repeat this, the last idea about it? We have to start with the initial state, then what we should do?
See, first you have to start with initial state. Then you have to define the acceptable states. Means which states can be considered as the final states. So first you have to specify what are the initial states. For example, in initial state for tic-tac-toe is what? All cells are empty. What can be acceptable states?
To put any,
Either one row, any one row or any one column or any one diagonal should contain same values. Either 1, 1, 1 or 2, 2, 2. That those are what? Acceptable states for a win. And what are the rules that you have to define? So the rules are used to change the state. For example, the one rule is you can mark in only one state at a time. This is rule number 1. Rule number 2 can be if a particular cell is already marked, I cannot remark it. Rule number 3, I cannot revert. Am I right? So these are rules, no? You cannot say that, okay, step in first move I'll mark this column, in next move I will revoke this. So these are some rules, no, that you have to specify, and using these rules states are changed. Okay?
yes, sir. Okay.
Thank you. Then there is something called as water jug problem. So in water jug problems, let me explain. So there is a theory, but let me explain with the help of picture something. Let's say there are two jugs. We call it a jug X and we call it a jug Y. The capacity of jug X is it can contain 4 liter water exactly, and jug Y can contain 3 liter water exactly. So what can be a state space for X? What can be a state space for X? State space for X is it can contain 0 liter water. There can be 1 liter water in X. There can be 2 liter water in X, 3 liter water in X, or 4 liter water in X. Please don't tell me that, sir, 1.5. I know we are working only on integers. Similarly, state space for jug Y can be it can contain 0 liter water, 1 liter water, 2 liter water, or 3 liter water. So what is the problem? The problem says that using anything that you can do, ensure that there will be exactly 2 liters water in jug X. We don't have any measurement scale. What we want to do? We want to do some process in such a way that jug X will contain exactly 2 liters water. We don't have any measuring scale. Jug Y can contain 3 liter water at max. Jug X can contain 4 liter water at max. But what we want? Jug X should contain 2 liter water. So what can be our final acceptable state? Our acceptable state is, initial state. In initial state, in jug X there will be 0 liter water. In jug Y there will be 0 liter water. So this is our initial state. And now you start doing process. And what is our final state? Jug X
have 2 liter of water.
Jug X should have 2 liter water. What about jug Y? I don't care how much water is there in jug Y. N. And that value of N can be 0, 1, 2, 3. Everything is acceptable. Doesn't matter. So the acceptable solution state is jug X should contain F liter water, 2 liter water, and jug Y can contain N number of water, N liter water. So the final state can be 2, 0, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3. Am I right? So there are 4 possible acceptable final states. So there are 4 possible acceptable final state. There is 1, initial states. So class, are you with me? The same thing is written over here in the form paragraph.
Sorry, sir. The acceptable states that 0, 0, it's 2, 0, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3. This is the 2 for x, and this numbers for from 0 to 3. It's for
Yes,
y.
this is 0 to 3 is for y. Here, when we are writing initial state as 0, comma 0, first 0 indicates amount of water in jar x, second 0 indicates amount of water in jar y.
Okay, sir. Done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So now,
Sir, initial state, can we take it as a final state?
no, initial
didn't
state
do
we cannot
anything?
take, an initial state we cannot take, na? Initial state is 0, comma 0. That in both the jugs, x and y, there is only 0, no water. In final state, in jug x, there should be 2 liter water, and jug y can contain any amount of water. Okay.
All right then.
So now there are rules. Rules are like, see, there are total 12 rules, but those 12 rules, it is not necessary that we should use all 12 rules. I have taken this photo from our book only. See what it says. Oh. If the amount of water, so what are the possible movements? There are 12 possible movements. What it says, if in jug X, the water is less than 4 liter, I can fill that jug up to 4 liter water. If in jug Y, the water is less than 3 liter, I can fill that jug to 3 liter water. Means what? The two possible rules are, I can fill the jug X completely, I can fill the jug Y completely. Second is, if the amount of water in jug X is greater than 0, means there is some water, I can pour out some water from jug X. Similarly, if there is some water in jug Y, I can pour out some water. So that is, I can pour out d liter water from jug X. So these are possible things, but they are, it doesn't matter whether you are using these rules or not, but these are possible rules, even though we are not using it. Next is, if there is some water in jug X, I can completely empty jug X. If there is some water in jug Y, I can completely empty jug Y. Then this rule 7 says, I can transfer some water from jug Y to jug X. This rule 7, it says that there is some water X. Sorry, there is some water. What's happening? There is some water X and Y in jug X and Y. So I can transfer some water from Y to X. I can transfer some water from Y to X so that jug X will be full and there will be some water in jug Y. Similarly, I can transfer some water here according to a rule from jug X to jug Y. So jug Y will be filled and there will be some water remaining in jug X. So these are certain rules. Class, are you okay with this thing?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir, clear.
Similarly, now these are important things. What it says, a jug X and Y. What it says, you can pour out some water from jug Y to jug X. We can pour out some water from jug Y to jug X and you can make jug Y empty. Similarly, you can pour out some water from jug X to jug Y and it is empty, something like that. And then these are acceptable state. It doesn't matter that 0 and 2. So these are certain rules. So we want to use some rules to solve the problem. We want to use some rules to solve the problem. So how we can do this? So there is one solution. There are n number of possible solutions. What they are saying, let's say at the beginning, in jug X, there is a 0 liter water. In jug Y, there is 0 liter water. So now we can use rule 2. Now we can use rule 2, which says that I can completely fill jug X. I can completely fill I can use rule 2 and I can completely fill jug Y. So there is a rule 2. You can refer back. I will share slides today or tomorrow somewhere. Then after that, we can use rule 9. Rule 9 says that I can transfer the water from jug X to jug Y. I can transfer the water from jug Y to jug X. So now in jug X there is 3 liter water, in jug Y there is 0 amount of water. Then next, again you can use rule 2 to fill the jug Y completely. You can use rule 2 to fill the jug Y completely. Now in jug X you have 3 liter water, in jug Y you have 3 liter water. Now you can use rule Y. So what rule Y says? Shift the water, you can use rule 7. Rule 7 says I can transfer some water from Y to X such that X will be full. So in X there was 3 liter water. I transferred water in X, it became full. So now it is a 4 liter water in X. So how much water will remain in jug Y now? 2 liter water. So I have achieved something, that I have 2 liter water in jug X, some jug, but that is not jug X. It is now in jug Y. So what I can do? Using rule 5 or 12, these two rules says that I can completely empty jug X. I can completely empty jug X. So I can pour out, I will make it 0. And then rule 9 or 11 says I can transfer the water from jug Y to jug X. And now how much water will be there in jug X? 2 liter water.
So this is the
acceptable solution. So we moved from initial state to acceptable state. We moved from initial state to acceptable state by using some rules. So this is something called as state, space, and search. We search the rule, we apply the rule. But this is not the only one solution. There can be n number of possible solutions. Class, any doubt till this point? Anyone?
No, sir, thank you. But I have a little bit, just a question. If we, there is no matter for the scenario that we will apply for getting the solution, isn't it?
Sorry, there is?
If we have more than one scenario or more than one like way to get the solution, so we have to never mind about that way.
So normal,
to
see,
just
when
get
there is more than one ways to get the solution, na, you apply some methods, and the moment you get solution, you stop there. It doesn't matter in that case that which way you achieve the solution. What was your requirement? Gallon X should contain 2 liter water. You achieved the solution. How you achieved it, it doesn't matter. Am I right?
So here we have to just apply the rules and apply the problem, and the machine will solve it.
Yes.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
so here, see, this is something a process. Initially, I have 0, 0. So when you have 0 liter water in X and Y, there are two possible rules. One rule is I can fill the gallon X. Another rule is what? I can fill in the gallon Y. Yes or no? So there are two possibilities. Either I can fill the gallon X or I can fill the gallon Y. So this is first step. In next step, in gallon X, there is 4 liter water. In gallon Y, there is 0 liter water. Now what can I do? Either I can fill the gallon X or I can empty the gallon. So either I can fill the gallon Y here, or I can empty the gallon X, or I can shift the water from gallon
From X to Y
X
or
to
Y
Y.
to X.
So similarly, if it is 0, 3, I can fill the gallon X, or I can transfer the water from gallon Y to gallon X, or I can empty the gallon Y. So see, you can see here, this is something good, no? So 0, 3, then we shift from Y to X and so on. So we are achieving it in some direction. Am I right?
Yes, sir, that's true.
So if we'll repeat this process, again continuously, at one moment of time there will be some node which will have 2, 0, or which will have 2, n.
And then we have just get the acceptable solution for that.
Solution,
Okay.
yes. And this approach is called as breadth first search approach. This approach is called as what? Breadth first search approach, or it's called as breadth first search strategy to solve the problem. So where we are trying possible, we are, let's say we are trying every possibility. From node 1, which rules we can do. Then now we have 2 nodes. Then this, on this node, which rules can I apply? On this node, which rules can I apply? So it will be a very big tree. So we are exploring all possibilities in one time. We are exploring what? All possibilities in one time. So this is a breadth first search approach. So there is another approach called depth first search that we will see in next session.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Any doubt, class? Anyone?
No, sir, clear.
Okay,
No,
thank
sir.
you. So
Very clear.
similar to previous session, I am sharing this link of link for attendance. So it will hardly take 20-25 seconds to mark the attendance. So stop presenting. Stop because otherwise it take 10